guys, I'm Layla. Welcome to raidlore Stories. So today we are in Raid Shadow Legends. We're going to read in the story for Skorid the Halfspawn. Happens to be a new fusion champ in Raid. Legendary attack demon spawn. I mean, he has a very interesting look. He's got this very like magma fiery kind of, is this like a scythe or something? Like, I'm not even sure what we would really call this here. His wings look deformed almost. Like, I don't know, his wings look like maybe initially they were trees or something, or maybe they got burnt off. Not really sure. So we're gonna read his story and see if it kind of explains some of this here. Skorid is reviled in Teleria as the living curse. Originally a favored servant of the Dreamwalker, Skorid's ambition and craving for forbidden knowledge of curse magic led him through a portal to Anathrad to be transformed from elf into demon spawn. Grotesque wings of bone and leathery hide erupted from his back, his strength multiplying and his arcane power surging. Wielding a massive two-bladed weapon, one end a cleaving sword and the other a cruel scything hook, Skorid returned to Teleria to spread misery and fear. Skorid took with him powerful curses whispered into his ear by Siroth himself. They rattled around his head, each with a will of their own and longing to escape. He muttered and rasped and shouted almost incessantly in an uncanny growl like jagged shards of rock and crystal being scourged with a rusty rake. Mortals anywhere near him shook violently and bled from their eyes and ears as Skorid's curses wormed their way into them. Stone even cracked round him, plants putrefied, and water spoiled. So terrible was the living curse that he commanded the attention of previously hidden Lightbringers determined to stop him from blighting the realm. Thus, for all his strength, it was not long before Skorid suffered his first of many deaths in a ferocious battle with the Lightbringer Liminici. His body was destroyed, disintegrated by holy magic, but thanks to Siroth's scourge of darkness, he was reborn in the wretched burbling spawning pits of that dark realm's foulest depths. His sinews were reknitted, liquefied organs reformed, and shattered bones cracked back into place. He felt, but endured everything. After several years, Skorid emerged as good as new. Siroth imbued his favorite experiment with fresh curses through blood rites and ancient words of fell power, and sent Skorid back. Over the decades, this pattern of death, rebirth, cursemonger, and invasion repeated many times. But Skorid grew impatient. Though each rebirth within the spawning pits was slightly easier than the last, his thirst to spread hexes and woe grew more and more acute as they part begged and part ordered him to spread their foulest influence. Partway through his latest resurrection, he was seized with fever and struggled in his half-formed shell to break free. He succeeded, but forever twisted himself in the process. No longer did Skorid bear huge and frightful wings, only malformed stumps. His once mighty physique was now gaunt and wiry, his muscles having yet to weave themselves into their full glory. His gnashing teeth formed a permanent grimace in his lipless mouth, and his incomplete face was so grotesque and painful that he hid it behind an iron helm. Even his signature weapon emerged from the pits corroded and unfinished. When Skorid repented his mistake and leapt back into the pits, they burnt him like acid and rejected him. It was too late. Siroth heaped scorn and humiliation upon Skorid, stoking the demon spawn's self-loathing and instilled in him a burning desire to atone for his impulsiveness. Skorid came to believe that he could corrupt all Teleria for his master. Siroth would use his personal power to recreate his original demonic form. Strung along by this hope, Skorid redoubled his efforts to serve as a living vessel for Siroth's vilest curses. Other demons now called him the Halfspawn, an equal mockery and revulsion. Though far from the combatant he once was, Skorid remained dangerous, and his jagged and pitted weapon was no less capable of causing horrendous wounds. His twisted body, along with his spite and malice reaching new heights, made him an even more effective conduit for dark magic. The curses fed on his festering hatred and constant pain. His half-spawn form was also easier and faster to reproduce in the spawning pits, meaning that his defeats bought Teleria defenders precious little time before he returned. Eventually, the Arbiter herself was compelled to take action. With the help of several sharded warriors and mages, she lured Skorid into a confrontation, slew him, and intercepted the half-spawn's soul as it departed. Instead of awakening the spawning pits of Anathrad, Skorid was bound to a shard. Siroth has noticed he has not returned. He will never know what has happened to him unless released. It would take extraordinary circumstances, threats, and promises to wring obedience from Skorid, making his use of the Arbiter questionable. If nothing else, she has taken a potent weapon away from Serath and brought a measure of peace to Solarians, who need not fear the skinless, gibbering monstrosity that once stalked their lands. Wow, okay. I feel like they really put a lot of good effort into his story. And I like this part here is because like I mentioned, so this guy is he's a fusion champ, right? So they talk about how the Arbiter basically sealed him away, and Serath has noticed he hasn't returned, is not going to know what happens unless he's released. So obviously, we're doing the fusion, and then when we have what we need, we fuse them, and then he emerges. And then I guess that's probably when the whole idea of him taking shape and taking form again and spreading the curses comes about. And what's also interesting too is sometimes these stories mention these other champs we don't have in game yet. So here's a Lightbringer. So we have Lightbringer Liminici. I'm curious, if this will end up being like another Sacred Order or maybe like a high elf kind of Lightbringer champ. So some of the Lightbringers we already have are going to be like Cardial. We have Arbiter. We have Astralon. Those are basically like some of the Lightbringers we already have too. So curious to see if they bring this one about as well. Guys, I'd love to know what you think for the lore story for Skorid the Halfspawn. So it actually did. At least it explained why he looks the way that he did. Because basically he kept dying and being reborn. And this was due to him not being completely pieced back together, I guess is maybe the right way to say it, is that he got a little impatient. And so this was kind of like a punishment that happened. I'd love to know what you guys think. Drop me a comment down below. And hey, thanks for watching.